Are iOS apps superior than Android apps? Many people are going to be very angry in this video maybe. And so let's start. So of course, when I started my tech journey, one of my first smartphones was the Samsung Note 2. And of course, it was running Android. And I was super excited because I knew I was going to be able to download some really cool apps on my phone. But then after using the Samsung Note 2 for almost a year, I noticed that I want to play and try apps that were on the iPhone, and I was wondering why were developers not also developing on Android, when on Android there's a lot more users for them to go and download their app and get more usage and probably even make more money. And so I decided to do some research about this, and until now I'm doing a video about this. So one of the first things, of course, is customization. So on Android, of course, it's known for being able to do a lot of free ton of customization on the Android platform. Developers have much more freedom to build some really cool, interesting apps as well for the Android platform when it comes to creating some cool, really interesting widgets for the iPhone, for the Android's phone, and creating some really cool apps as well for the Android ecosystem. And on iOS, it's only been recently that Apple has slowly been allowing developers to build some really fun, cool widgets as well for their home screen and be able to add widgets on their home screen to see much more information instead of having to open the application on the iPhone. It's still not as interactive as how I would really like it and how I remember being on Android, where it's much more interactive and you just see a ton of more information on Android and just being able to do a lot more customization. But Apple is slowly allowing developers to do all that on iOS, and hopefully in iOS 16 it'll be a lot more interactive than it is right now on iOS. Another thing that I really miss, of course, on being on the Android platform is being able to quickly install the icon packs on Android. So of course, if you're a fan of Android and you're an Android user, you know what I'm talking about. If you're an iOS user, you probably know what I'm talking about. So recently, of course, Apple made it possible for people to upload icons and be able to change the icon of the app that they currently have installed on the iPhone. But rather than being like on Android where you're able to download the pack and quickly install it with a third-party launcher on Android, on iOS you have to go through the shortcut app, build it as a shortcut first, the application, and then have to go one by one to be able to change the icon design of the icon that you're trying to do and create a new icon pack on shortcut. So it's a little bit much more complicated, a little bit more work than it's supposed to be. So hopefully in iOS 16, crossing my fingers that Apple will allow those changes to be possible on the iOS ecosystem, where maybe you could download the icon pack and quickly just install the icons on the iPhone, so you don't have to create one by one the icons with the shortcut app. So next we have default apps and bloatware. So of course on Android, it's pretty much known there's a ton of bloatware on Android. Slowly, a lot of the better known brands on the Android platform are slowly being a little bit much more cautious when it comes to bloatware. I'm talking about Samsung and all the other popular manufacturers who build their phones using Android as well. And so it's just really annoying. And one of the first things that I used to do when I had my Android phones and bought a new one, I will quickly just install a third-party launcher like Action Launcher, which is probably one of the best launchers out there. And so that's what I would do to try to escape the bloatware, because on Android phones, for some reason, manufacturers or carriers will install their preloaded apps on the phones, and you cannot delete them. And so that was one of the big things that I really dislike about Android, not giving you that option to delete those apps because you knew you were not going to use them and you don't want to have them taking up space on the Android phone. And so it's a little bit different on iOS. Apple doesn't have a ton of bloatware. They do have their default apps installed on every iPhone, and for many users, for like probably 99% of Apple users out there, they're not techies like you and I. They're just basic iPhone users who just enjoy using the default apps, just like using the default weather app, using the default calculator app. But if you're a techie like me, then you want to download some cool, interesting apps from the App Store. Download like Carrot Weather, for example, for the weather information to get much more detail. Have that widget and just be able to customize the app to get a certain weather information that the default weather app does not allow. So when it comes to default apps, I find that of course Apple does a better job when it comes to creating default apps and also giving you the option, of course, to delete some. Now Apple does give you some option to delete some off the phone. It's not like 100% deleted. It's like pre-deleted. So then like when you go to the App Store, you could just download it in like a few seconds and it'll be installed again. But like on Android, I wish manufacturers will give that option to be able to delete some apps that users don't want to have on the phone, and of course do a better job when it comes to bloatware, because that's a huge problem I think on Android. Even though if you do get the Pixel phone, it's it's pretty much fixed, since the hardware is designed by Google and the software as well, and so it's a better experience for a lot more Android users. But if you're using a third-party manufacturer's phone who has Android on it, then you pretty much have a ton of bloatware being installed onto the Android ecosystem. So next we have is side loading. So of course side loading is hugely popular in the Android platform. Users could download any app without having to go through the Play Store, and there's a ton of people who do that because sometimes they want to just have that customization and that freedom to download apps that are not available in the Play Store and be able to install them on their phones and have that unique experience. Now of course on the iOS side, you're not allowed to sideload apps. There's probably ways that you can sideload apps out there, like jailbreaking and everything. But if you're like me, I'm not really into jailbreaking my iPhone, and because of the warranty and all that stuff. But so of course there's different reasons that Apple gives that it does not allow side loading, because one of the main reasons that they say is for security purposes. But also we know that it will affect their bottom line if users had a way to sideload legally on the iPhone apps with bypassing the App Store, because Apple does take a 30% cut when you purchase an app. And so if you're able to sideload that app, then Apple is missing that money maker, and it's a huge revenue for Apple when it comes to the App Store revenue. So next we have is the camera. So of course on Android we know that there's thousands and thousands of manufacturers who are using Android on their phones, and every single one of those phones have a different camera on it. Not like on iOS, which of course Apple makes the iPhones, they design the iPhones, they design the operating system, and so they have a little bit much more control, and developers have a little bit much more focus when it comes to using the camera on the iPhone because of the camera API and everything. So developers can know that they can just use the API from the camera. So on Android, of course, there's thousands and thousands of cameras out there on Android, and so developers have a hard time creating the right camera app when it comes to on Android. And so that's where it comes a little bit crazy, because if you open the Instagram app on Android, it depends. Like if you have a Samsung, which has one of the best cameras out there, but then if you open the app, the camera just looks really, really bad. And so, but if you open the default version of the camera app, it looks fantastic. And so that's one of the main problems that I find. Then on iOS, where developers just use the same camera, if you open the Instagram app, it doesn't look any different than if you open the default iPhone's camera app. So it's just pretty much the same camera, since developers know that they can just use that same camera from the software when creating their apps. So what do you think in the comments below? Are iOS apps superior than Android apps? Tell me down in the comments below. And as always, if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys later. Peace.